little bit, a few words from the zoo here in a moment, but really thrilled to be here with Christmas at the zoo, and we're thanking Jake and the rest of the zoo team. Because it really does look like Christmas. So we'll call the meeting to order. Want to thank Jake for giving us the opportunity to be here. And he's going to introduce the president of the zoo here. So you want to proceed. Thank you, Jake.
We're really excited to host this meeting, and it's an honor for me. I have to say, because he's my boss, but he leaves, I'll tell you. But no, the true host today is our president and CEO, Dr. Rob Shoemaker. Dr. Rob's been CEO here since he had perfect timing. He became CEO in January of 2020. I've been here for about a month and a half, and then the whole world changed. But he's been with the zoo for over 15 years in various capacities. He's a primatologist by trade, a PhD. He's a pretty good guy to work for, so he's allowing me to be here this morning, so you can thank him. But with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Rob.
Thank you very much, and good morning.
Good morning.
And I have to say that Dave, the previous year in Indianapolis is just fantastic, and it's always a great meeting. So, welcome. We are very, very pleased to have you. Very pleased to host you. And let me just give you a very quick bit about the zoo. We tried very hard to be highly focused on our mission. And we talk about it at the beginning of every meeting that we have at the zoo. So we get to be safe for you. So our job is to protect nature and inspire people to care for our world. As simple as that. If I add one other bit of information that may be of particular interest to this crowd, we are the largest accredited zoo in the United States that receives no public funding. So all of our operating budget, everything that we spend in a year, we earn. None of that comes from tax dollars from the city or the state or farms or any of those options that many of our other colleagues benefit from. So as a result, I think we have a really good perspective, and our perspective is that we must be immensely valuable to our city and our state. While we draw about 20% of our visitors from outside of Indiana, obviously that leaves a balance of 80%. And so we want to be as important and valued and respected and loved in our community as we possibly can be. And that means that we absolutely want to partner with other organizations who are dedicated to our city and our state, which connects the dots for why we're so happy to have you here this morning. So this is not unusual for us. We are absolutely committed to working with all of our partners. And so we're very, very pleased and congratulate you on great contributions to the state. I can tell you that here at the zoo, to mention two other issues, we do an enormous amount of work in the state that's conservation related. Not Jake, but do any of you know what a hellbender is? You do. Well done. So if you don't, hellbent, which I think was most, let's be honest, to talk about hellbenders, they are the largest salamander in the United States, about 30 inches long, from nose to tail. And they are native to the Blue River here in Indiana. They are a very, very important species. So to give you an example of a local conservation effort, right now in this building, they're just not in a place where the public can see them. We have about 200 hellbenders just around the corner over here. And we are raising them to be about 18 inches long. So it's kind of a Head Start program. And it is. And we release them in the wild when they are not as vulnerable to all of the things that the challenges they face living river. But if you you think about it, most people in Indiana don't know what they are, maybe even aren't so interested in that. We'd like to change that. But the one thing that I think we can say with confidence is that everybody in Indiana appreciates having clean water. And all of the conservation efforts to make the Blue River sustainable for hellbenders benefits everybody who draws their water from the river. It's all about providing a beautiful and safe habitat. The other thing that I will tell you is we have conservation projects that we support throughout the country and around the world. And all of that is possible because of our place here in Indianapolis and the support of this community. And by the way, we frequently partner with arts organizations. You may be familiar with some. This year, a couple of notable ones that I talked about at a board meeting last night. We partnered with Indian Opera. They held one of their productions here. They should have done that for several years, which is a great venue for that. And one that I'm particularly fond of, it's small, but I really love it. This is one of Jake's departments, is a great paint out. And we invite different artists here to produce works, and then those are auctioned off later in the year to support. So there were 21 of those, and they just get better and better every year. We get more and more artists that apply every year because it is jury. We don't like to turn away anybody, but we can't take all of the people who apply. So the competition is getting trickier every year. The pieces are getting more and more beautiful. And it's a phenomenal way that we're able to support it. So we're greatly appreciative of the tremendous work that you do to support the arts. Thank you for being here this morning, and Jake will take great care of you. If there's anything you need, let us know. The Zoom is yours. There's no other visitors until 2 o'clock. Yeah, we're not even open till 2. So if you're anxious to go out and wander afterwards, I'm sure we can do that. If you're here a little bit later, once it gets dark, I'm sure the Christmas has to be extra beautiful in the snow tonight. So thank you again for being here. Happy holidays to everybody, and we appreciate your good work very, very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Schuvik. We very much appreciate it. Thank you, Jake, as well. And I learned something you already helped it. So unlike Maya, all about I didn't know anything about Hellman. I'll be looking now. I want to welcome our newest commissioner. We have 4 new commissioners. 3 of them are at this meeting. 1 of them was unable to be here.
2 of them.
Well, I counted
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm gonna let Rick introduce some stuff first, but before we do that, I just want to mention. So we have Jamie Campbell, who's here, Dawn Cotwell, who's here, Rick James, and then Judith Sawyer. I'm gonna put each other on the spot. This is birthdays. But I'm gonna start with Rick, since he can't throw a happy birthday. And see, Rick, do you want to just give a little background for everyone?
You, Dave, I wanted me to say something?
Yeah, if you would,
Okay.
yeah, just give a roll.
Yeah, I can, yeah, I'm having a little trouble here and I apologize. Yeah, live up in Northeast Indiana, in Fort Wayne area. I was born and raised in Auburn. Our family owns a metal casting and machining company, Metal Technologies. We operate in Indiana and Michigan and Mexico. We employ about 1,500 employees, associates inside the company. I also serve as chair of the Trine University Board of Trustees, serve as chair of the National Park Foundation. And it's really a pleasure to be part of this organization now. So my wife and me also have a private foundation, the James Foundation. We do a lot of work in education and a lot of work in Northeast Indiana in communities and the arts. We worked with Dave on the Arts United project. Also, I past chair of the Fort Wayne Philharmonic. And we believe strongly, Vicki and me, that the arts are important to society and to the people in the state. So we're really pleased to be part of this organization. So thanks for the opportunity.
Great. Thanks, Rick. Do you want to go next?
Sure, Jeannie Campbell, maiden name Crimp from Jasper, Indiana, born and raised there. I tried to get out, but they sucked me right back. My husband always wanted to practice medicine in a smaller city, so that's why we moved back to Jasper, to my family's great glee. I'm happy to represent my part of the state. I do have a music degree from IU. 1977, and a business degree, which my father insisted upon since I was marrying a doctor and I did not know business. But I enjoyed it very much and finished actually over here at IUPUI, which I was amazed to see how that small campus has changed. And so that was a lot of fun to see. And let's see, I have been on Friends of the Arts since I moved back to Jasper in '89. Jasper Community Arts and Friends of the Arts was founded by my father, Stan Crimp, and Bob McCarty was also a member of this commission at one time. He actually wanted me to take over his position and he wanted to recommend me, but my youngest child was still in middle school and we were balancing tennis and music, and it was impossible. So anyway, I am very involved in administering and overseeing several foundations, which my father started. United Cabinet Endowment, Du Bois County Catholic Schools Foundation, and many charitable lead trusts, which my father, with his great long-range planning, set up 3 charitable lead trusts for each of his grandchildren, just for the purpose that they would learn how to be philanthropists. And most of these grandchildren have been performers in the past, played multi-instruments in the arts, and are now arts patrons. So it's quite gratifying to see that happen, to continue to the next generation.
Right, thank you, Jeannie, really appreciate that, Dawn.
Hello, my name's Dawn Conwell, and I'm happy to be here this morning with all of you. Some people had a chance to read my information. I hate to bore you with all the details. I'll just start with, I have 2 Frenchies. I have one little one. She's only 3 months old, but she's about this big, and we call her BB. And I have raised 7 children. They all came to me, and it's biological, adopted, and foster. And they've given me 9 grandchildren. So I'm the president of the Marion Arts Commission. I just named off, I'm also a wife, but that's my pride and joy, the things, that motivate me, are my kids, grandkids, my family. I'm the president of the Marion Arts Commission. I'm an entrepreneur. I have had a commercial cleaning business for the last 15 years that the last day will be December 31st. I've decided to retire from the cleaning business, and I will be marketing I will be starting a marketing company. It's called DMC Creative Studios, and my first gig is to market the downtown and from Marion and representing the Marion district. So I'm excited for that new adventure. I raised kids for 33 years, and that was my passion. I was always in art all through school, but families kind of became a priority, and I lost touch with. I have a master's in business, so everything I've done is business. And I've always grown my family, grown my career and things. Well, I was homeschooling my son, my last one, and I walked into an art class. I love art. I've gotten every single kid, 7 of them, art. What do you call it? The little kits or whatever, art kits. Not one of them picked it up, but my last one, and I was thrilled. He's my favorite now. Wrote book, and homeschool. But anyway, we walked in and there was an internationally famous artist that was teaching class. And good friends. And I've painted with her now for 3 years. I'm an oil painter. And so, thanks to her. And so my passion just grew, and now all my kids are grown, and I have the time to pursue now the things that I love and enjoy. And so I'm thrilled to be here. So, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. Thanks to all of our new commissioners. It's great to be back up to full speed. And really appreciate you being involved. Administratively, if those who are on Zoom or those in the room, if you have trouble hearing any of us or hearing any of the other presenters, raise a hand or send a text on Brave or live. I also want to, we've got a couple of people on Zoom. So Kayla Myers and Renee and then also Walter. I want to especially thank Walter for hosting all of us last night. Walter, I couldn't be there, as you know, but I understand you guys had a great evening, so thank you for your hospitality. Austin.
Mr. Chair, before we head on, would you mind or Maya to give a little bit of background on Commissioner Sawyer?
Yes.
Well, sorry.
Gina Sawyer is another one of our new commissioners who is not able to join. She also is a musician, trained cellist. She is from Chesterton, which is up in Region 1. She's playing Messiah tomorrow, so she had rehearsal and was not able, or actually at least tonight, rehearsal last time, was not able to join. So she hopes to be with us in March. Again, a trained musician, been on a lot of arts boards in both West Indiana as well as the Chicagoland area.
Great. Thanks, Maya. Thanks, Andre. Austin, you want to provide roll call?
I can do that. We'll start with our commissioners who are in the room. Raina Bradley,
Brad, Vice Chair.
Chad Bolser,
Chad Bolster, Region 5, President.
Jeannie Campbell,
Jeannie Campbell, present.
Don Conwell,
Dawn Conwell, Region 5, present.
Dave Heiss,
Present.
Greg Hull,
Region 7, President.
Jake Oakman,
President.
Kelsey Pieper,
Present.
Scott Wiley.
Present.
We'll move on to our commissioners who are present on Zoom. Rick James,
Present.
Walter Kanabe,
Present.
Renee Thomas.
Here.
We will now move on to our IAC staff members who are here. Jordan Adams,
Jordan Adams, Artist Services Program Manager.
Eric Ashby,
Eric Ashby, Director of Programs.
Connie Brom,
Connie Brom, Marketing and Communications Director.
Britt Feckman,
Vector Data and Grant Systems Manager.
Anne Johansson,
Ann Johansson, Community Services Manager.
Maya Michelson,
Maya Michelson, Executive Director.
Stephanie Fendler,
Stephanie Finley, Financial Operations.
Gwendolyn Pickett,
Gwendolyn Pickett, Communications Manager.
Andre Zanzanera.
Andre Zanzanera, Deputy Director and Chief of Staff.
We will now move on to our regional arts partners. Kayla Myers,
Kayla Myers, Region 2.
Sherry Wright,
Sherry Wright, Region 6 here, sorry.
and our final folks who are here. Any special presenters? Jim Rawlinson.
You're President.
It's just you. That is everyone who's here.
Thank you, Austin. Okay, we will move to approve the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda for the meeting?
So, second.
Thank you. We have a second. Roll call. Austin.
Absolutely. Raina,
Aye.
Chad, Jeannie. We are voting on if the agenda is approved. Yeah,
Aye.
Dawn,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Jake, Kelsey,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
Renee.
Aye.
That is everyone.
Great. Okay, agenda passes. We'll move to the consent agenda. Item 3 on the agenda. I will recite the items listed, but procedurally, if there is an item on the consent agenda the commissioner wants to discuss or feels discuss it, we'll pull it off the consent agenda and discuss it at the end of the meeting. If there isn't, we'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda, which will approve all of those items listed in the consent agenda. So, does any commissioner want to remove something? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second, Austin, roll call.
Absolutely. Raina.
Aye.
Chad.
Aye.
Jeannie.
Aye.
Dawn.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Greg.
Aye.
Jake.
Aye.
Kelsey.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Rick.
Aye.
Walter.
Aye.
Renee.
Aye.
That is everyone.
Thank you, Austin. All those items are approved and, nothing to, be discussed further, at the end of the meeting. So we'll go to item 4, committee reports. And I'm going to pass this over to Eric and Fred.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. I'm Eric. I'm the Director of Programs at the Indiana Arts Commission. It's a pleasure to be with you. Welcome to our new commissioners. I want to talk a little bit about our key performance indicators and some of the measurements that we're making for that. But just for some background, the agency, our strategic plans, we call a strategic framework. It's from 2024 to 2028. And as a piece of that framework, we've got 5 key impact areas, and our key performance indicators are our way of measuring our progress toward achieving those impacts. And so we provided some updates on the KPIs at our last quarterly business meeting. And what's the mic? Can everyone hear me? There you go. Sorry, I'm a rattler when I talk. We provided some updates on the KPIs at our last QBM and in alignment with the end of our fiscal year, which ended on June 30th. And so now we're back to talk about some updates for some new metrics as we head into the new year and look to continuing to achieve impact and growth in the work that we do. So I'm going to invite Britt up to talk a little bit about some of the new proposed metrics that we have around a couple key impact areas. And then I'm going to open up the floor for some discussion around some measurements that we'd love some input from the commission on how we track our impact as we head into the new year. So I'll hand it over to Britt.
Oh, everyone.
Yes.
So the first proposed metric that we're not discussing, we're just telling you what we're thinking about, is in impact 1 to replace an accessibility focused project metric that is going away. We wanted to focus on our organizations in every county funded or creative convergence. And we're hoping to see them move into our core programs for APS and AOS. We haven't been tracking this previously, but we do know that this is happening, as we used to have 13 counties on every county funded, and now we're down to 6. So. Okay, and then the second area that we are proposing to replace some of the metrics that are going away is in impact 4. Previously, we had one universal health survey metric here. We're choosing to replace that with some service delivery metrics that will go in line with our regional arts partnership and a focus in service delivery. So we have 2 proposed replacements here. One is surrounding attendees and views of service delivery presentations and webinars that are put on by us and the reps, I believe. And then the second is number of service delivery presentations and webinars by IAC staff and reps, like number wise, not views. So that way we can track how many we're doing and how much attendance there is. And that's that.
So for some context on some of these updated metrics, the Universal Health Survey that was on here was measuring quality of life outcomes related to arts and culture. And that was a study that started and ended. And so that's why that metric is complete. And so that's where some of these new ones are coming in as we update our performance indicators as we move through the programs. Any questions on any of those updates on some of the metrics we're looking at as we head into the new year around service delivery? And tracking retention across our program suites. Okay. So I'd like to move into a little discussion about some other impact questions that we ask in our final reports. And there are a couple of things that are prompting the discussion today. One of the big ones is the National Endowment for the Arts, which is a big source of our funding to do the work that we do, has required questions that are federally required that we ask for any of the grants that we do. So these questions show up in all final reports and have shown up in our final reports for years. And the National Endowment for the Arts asks these questions to understand who is served by grant investments. So when we fund an arts project, who is participating and what does that benefit look like? And that's the intention of these questions. And so I wanted to show you the exact language of the question that is in our final reports, because these questions are going away. The National Endowment for the Arts, there are two of them. There's this one, and then I'll show you the second one here in a second. These questions are sunsetting. The endowment is changing their final reporting requirements for state arts agencies. And so what's happening with the sunsetting of these questions is that it leaves us in a place where we're ready to have discussions around how do we capture who is served by the grant investments that we make, and what might those new metrics or new questions look like? If we want to ask new questions at all, I think it's a completely open discussion at this point. And so this question here is focused on age, and it asks based on your in-person participation figures. Select the age group that made up 25% or more of the population directly benefited, meaning that you can select multiple of these options, but you can't select more than 4 because that would be over 100%. But you can only select them if you had 25% or more of your population that was in one of those age groups. So that's thoroughly confusing. So it's probably good that these are sunsetting, as we didn't get a lot of great information from these because the questions were poorly worded. And so that was the one on age, and then here's the one on distinct groups. And these categories were defined by the National Endowment for the Arts. So again, it's the same question language, and these are the groups that the National Endowment for the Arts spelled out. And so again, people could only select one of these if 25% or more of the direct participants in a program belongs to one of these groups. As you might imagine, most people that do programs don't have an entry sheet when you walk in that asks you one of these things, right? So again, the data that was coming from these questions was not great. The benefit of these is that every single state arts agency in the US and the territories all ask these same questions. And so while the data was probably questionable, everyone was asking the same thing, and so there were benchmarks for comparison. Both internally for us, like we could compare across previous years how we were doing, but also nationally, there was comparison numbers that were being collected. That's not going to be the case anymore, so we're kind of at an opening point for where we go next from here, being mindful of when we establish some new metrics in this space, we'd love to be able to keep them for 3, 4, 5, 6 years so that we can understand our growth and improvement over time. So with that context being laid for where we're at with our questions, I want to open up the floor for some discussion around what sort of metrics you all think we should be tracking, thinking about in regards to better understand who is served by grant investments. So I want to start there and then move into maybe if there are ideas that come out of that are broader. Are there any metrics not currently tracked in a more general sense that you'd like to see the commission tracking and reporting on at these meetings and to the public about the work that we do? So with that, would love to get the discussion started with, if anything if this is bringing up anything for anyone around tracking who is served and how we might go about doing that with the sunset of those questions.
We do still track who is served or rural.
Right, yes, we have a geographic designation, urban and rural by county, that is tracked, is not federally required, but we do track that as a assessment of ours. Yes. Any other thoughts? Has anyone seen in their own organization specific metrics that you all focus on for understanding who's served by the work that you're doing, either in philanthropy or otherwise? How about on the second question, broadly speaking, are there any general metrics
related to arts impact, engagement that you all think we should be thinking about?
You know, I know one of the things we talked about in a couple of committee meetings is the population demographics of the state, the challenges we face with the kind of depopulation of a lot of our rural counties and regionalization of a lot of services. Because in fact, my colleague from Jasper, and you know, we both work in areas where people from our surrounding counties have to come to us now to get medical care, to get so many things. And that idea of who is attending and how are we tracking whether we're moving and trying to get, especially with our Arts Everywhere in Every County initiative, is that drawing people just from that county? Is that getting people to come to that rural county that wouldn't otherwise? Those kinds, I don't know how that is possible to do, but I know that's one of the challenges is we want to get art out of the regional rather than.
Yeah, that's a great point. And so thinking about where are people coming from to participate in a certain program, thinking about tracking maybe something along the lines of counting of residents of attendees, who is from the hyperlocal area versus outside coming to certain arts projects, which also provides a certain insight into who's accessing the programming and how big is the reach of certain programming.
And to go along with that too, I think if you think of like the breadth or the depth of this, what's being given, like how many of the people who are being served, is it like they're like a unique one-off brand new person who's getting something versus somebody who's consistently receiving continuously over and over and over, just so you get a sense of like, are we targeting kind of the same demographic always, or is there more of a wider breadth, or are you going more deeply in the communities? Sorry, that's my education hat, but like thinking of it that way, like when you provide services, support, whatever it is, you want to know the breadth and the depth of what you're giving
Yes.
to any demographic community group of people.
Absolutely. Thank you. Any other thoughts?
Jim, I'm gonna put you on the spot down there with Ray.
Yeah.
Thinking about, I mean, we're working a lot together, obviously, on all the Ray stuff that we'll hear talk about later, but curious, from your perspective, what would be relevant information that we could provide IUC and Ready around who participates in it?
Yeah, so we don't have a one size fits all definition of a region either, right? So, you know, I'm very excited, and we'll talk about it in a minute. I'm very excited about our partnership because we'll be able to start to pull some of our people in, your people in, and mix that stakeholder group. Typically ours are what we call REDOs and LEDOs, regional economic development, local economic development. Fairly formal, right? And so I feel like everyone's grappling with this commerce vertical discussion around how we realign the regions. I think we'll have more clarity come January after the McKinsey report comes out. We get more feedback from the region. So I know that's not a lot of substantive answer for you today, but I think that having our relationship and continuing to work closely together will be super helpful as we close out next year.
And to that point, us tracking, again, who's coming in out of region potentially to participate in our program, that might be.
Yeah, and again, I'll talk about it in a few, but having eyes into the projects that we don't support, I think is super valuable, right? So.
Can I have a very meetings as well? Well, as we think about the age, tracking, I would love to see the ages, especially broken out by where they are in the school system. You know, so maybe it's 5 through. And, you know, it's broken out by like primary, middle, and high school. I know for myself, arts in high school was a big stress relief. For me, I thought people kept me sane a lot during high school. And so I feel like lately, I mean, I feel like it's been trending for a while, we see less and less arts when it comes to secondary education. And so I'd be curious to be able to track that kind of data of not just 0 through 18, you know, but where our arts programs starting things as they are, wherever they are along there.
I think you got some more nuance in the age collection, especially within our young people in the state, which also gets to the breadth and depth comment from Kelsey earlier, trying to get a little more nuance, which is also important as high school curriculums change and as other things are happening in arts education to understand who's being served by some of our programming.
Just a comment, two things, it's very hard to track these things and like Rena said, is the commission aware of the recent changes? Surely you are, in the curriculum and how the credits are allocated to, I'm all up in that.
We should talk.
Because I'm a choir person from way back, and boy, am I mad about this. So if you have fewer educational groups visiting visual arts, visiting dance, having the matinee production for the schools to come in and see a live performance, it's gonna be harder to track that because we can't even get a hold of the kids. We can't get them there because they're not in the arts programs, classes. But even as an elective,
I know a lot of I can't remember all of them that we have, but a lot of them are pro-social, and I'm wondering, do you track the antisocial population or the criminal population, how our reduces crime?
We don't have any active metrics connected to our grant program to that, but that's definitely an area, and especially thinking about the quality of life in community and a lot of things that Reddy's working on too, in terms of quality of place, quality of life, that's definitely.
I was a probation officer for 13 years, drug and alcohol counselor for 20 of those, and the supervisor for the reentry for bringing people out of prison. And so there's a lot of really great artists, we were in prison, and that's something. And so I just wonder, I hate to forget about those folks that it's a pro-social thing for them, and when they come out of prison or just trying to keep them out of prison, there's great art, or, art's a wonderful way to help people.
Yes, absolutely, and we had, we work with the Prison Arts Initiative at IU. There's a couple other organizations that are doing that work in correctional facilities, and the Prison Arts Initiative run through the IU Arts and Humanities Council, which I'll mention later because they're coming on as a new regional partner for us. Had a phenomenal show about a year or so ago, or 2 years ago, exactly. It was the first time I met Andre, was at the exhibit that they had of the art that people had made, and it was really incredible. So that's definitely what we can talk.
Want to also ask folks online if they have any thoughts?
Sure. Yeah. Any thoughts from Zoom?
Yeah, you know what? I would like to say, of course, being a professional artist, my question would be, is there a way to track how it's affecting the professional artists of the community, not only visual artists, but all categories? And then secondly, something that I think is very important to recognize are the number of people that actually are professional but have to work full-time jobs to support themselves because of the difficulty of being able to support themselves full-time as a professional artist.
Well, that's a great point. And one of the things we track, but in hearing Walter's comment, there's an opportunity for us to go deeper in, is we ask about in every project grant how many artists have benefited from this project and ask for a number count of what that looks like. But within that number count, we don't ask for a breakdown of discipline or any more additional information about who those artists are that are benefiting. And so when we talk about the impact as professional artists from some of our grant investments, it's generally talked about as a big bucket. Here's the number versus something more nuanced. And so that's definitely something that we can work on coming back to with some suggestions on how we might get more information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna give input, from everyone, appreciate everyone's, contribution. You have any actions you want to take?
We don't, just, I really appreciate the feedback, and what we'll do with this is then come back to you all the next QPM with some of the more specific metrics that have come out of the discussion today to talk about and get some additional feedback on and lock those in to ask across the final report.
Is there any way to glean some of this information without reinventing the wheel from other organizations, multidisciplinary or purely business, or, you know, what they do at conventions for entertainment? Is there any way to glean how others track this data successfully?
Yeah, that's a great question. I had a conversation, because all the states are in the same spot as us, of these questions are going away, what do we do? And so, had a conversation with both Oklahoma and New York, last week to ask them about this question. They've got some people on staff that are dedicated to data things, and they're wonderful, and some states have opted just to not ask any more questions. Like New York has just decided to say, we're just gonna take those out entirely and not replace them. And so some people are opting just to shorten the reports because they've got other questions in there that they were asking beyond the NEA questions that work for them. Others are trying to figure out what to ask, and they haven't quite come to a decision yet. We seem to be a little bit out in front of the curve on these NEA sunsetting questions, because some states are just keeping them in. Because they have continuity in the data. And so I think we have some more work to do, Jeannie, in understanding what some additional states might be doing in this space, because I've only talked to a couple of people. And so I think there's definitely room to see how other people are approaching this, and if there's a way to.
I mean, obviously, if you have like a meet and greet, if you have workshops, we always try to have, we always ask performers, would you be willing to go out to the high school or middle school, giving a short performance? And, you know, when you have more direct contact like that, sometimes you can talk to the kids and get data that way, or the teachers and get data that way. But without doing that, I don't know how you.
Yeah, it's a challenging thing to unpack, and there's some other professional organizations out there that track some of this stuff. The Arts Education Data Project that happens nationally that Indiana doesn't participate in, because our Department of Education hasn't quite been able to get the arts data tracking to the place to be able to participate in that. So we've got some work to do on the data front, I think, across multiple agencies, likely to kind of help piece together what the arts are looking like. I think there's a huge opportunity with the READY investment that Jim will talk more about later to ascertain what's happening in our arts ecosystem across the state. That's a really historic investment in arts and culture, and it's gonna give us a way to help understand a little bit better what's happening with arts organizations, small creative businesses, and what that impact looks like over time, what they're doing in the community, and how that's catalyzed by that investment. So also excited to dive into some of the READY things as well, to use that as a springboard to get some more information related to some of our take homes.
Thank you very much, Eric. Great presentation. Real good discussion. Appreciate it. Is up next. He's going to help us talk about priorities for 2026.
Well, good morning, everyone. Again, I'm Andre Singh-Senior, Deputy Director to the staff for the agency. And what I am asking with you on the commission right now is just some of the couple of the questions that I want you all to keep in mind as I go through overall goals that we did for calendar year 25. For those folks online, the questions I'm going to be discussing a little bit is what gaps or needs did you notice during calendar year 25? And then the second question that we're going to ask you for discussion today will be, outside of our existing programs and services, what should be the agency's top priority for calendar year 26? So again, I've got some scrap paper over you for the folks here, so I'm going to walk over and get you a little bit of a lens of how we got here, and then I'm going to get primed with a more conversation for it at the end. So how did we get here? I want to provide some background, especially for our new commissioners. In 2023 and 2022, we had a strategic framework advice with the committee. We had conversations across the community, across the state, with different groups and different stakeholders, the deck groups like CARE, Irina and Chad, to have a conversation of what the priorities and the ideas of the commission should be. So after believing in all of that, we came into the strategic framework that rules from 2024 to 2028. And every year, the agency and the commission comes together and select goals, agency goals that direct the direction of our agency related to a strategic framework. So that's when I give a little bit of information, and based on that, calendar year 25, we got into the following 4 goals. The goal number 1, which goes into our value partnership, and strengthen strategic partnerships to drive community and economic development. As you all know, and for those who don't know, we are now part of the new Brown administration with verticals. And the different verticals we have available right now, the Arts Commission is part of the commerce vertical. So how do we integrate ourselves into the arts and making sure that we follow through the ecosystem of commerce? The second one, building more on that, is expanding services on resources to strengthen the art workforce. Again, a lot of the work that needs to happen here, and how we can again relate that to the economic development drive of our communities. Goal number 3, we develop and amplify, is amplifying the impact of programs through data-driven storytelling. So how do we communicate what we're doing out there, and how we communicate the value of the arts to the greater sector? And last but not least, goal number 4 is connect, which is deepening community engagement through art-based connections. So here on your screen again, the 4 goals that we have, and what I'm gonna go driving through now, is telling you how we achieve those goals. So goal number 1 again, is strengthening strategic partnerships, and we did that by building and continuing partnership with other state agencies. That includes INDC, that includes SBA, that includes OBRA, that includes FSSA, so continuing that partnership with other state agencies. We also deepen our academic partnership with higher education institutions, such as Indiana University and the University of Indianapolis and Ball State University. We also launch new collaborations with new partners, such as Patronicity, and different more partnerships that are coming in online, hopefully. So mentioned partner with INDC and the 15 regional economics partners. And last but not least, providing operational financial management support for the Indiana Destination Development Corporation. So that's a view of what we did for goal number 1. For goal number 2, which is again, resources and strengthening the arts workforce. We launched 4 new artist service programs. Offering coaching with artists with career coaching and art product support based development. Finalizing and presenting the online research report, which we're going to talk in a little bit. Developing the Lifelong Arts Indiana Toolkit, which is related to our creative aging processes. And supporting the high school diploma arts working group, which Eric's been working on. Number 3, with Amplify. We've been doing that by publishing research report programs, again, on-ramp, which we're going to talk in a little bit, and then Lifelong Arts, where we've talked about previous to the end. We have presented at statewide and national conferences. Reviewing impact and programmatic data collection and KPI, we just did a little bit. Developing new reporting resources such as the FY25 annual report and the Lifelong Arts Toolkit. And then the conference has been busy also increasing the social media reach on Facebook and Instagram. And last but not least, transitioning our grants dashboard from Power BI to Tableau to make data more accessible to folks. Our last goal, Connect. We did that by receiving a record number of grant applications. Eric, remind me again, about 800? All across the calendar year 26?
Yeah, probably around 800 across all programs.
Which is again, record number. We're now hosting community listening sessions through the QBM to connect with individuals out in the community where they are and making sure that we're being connected with them. Conducted over 35 site visits across the state. Offered 2 rounds of arts project support in the spring and now in the fall. Expanded eligibility to 501(c) organizations. And providing a regional delivery of the WIP program, the work in progress. And updating our regional arts partner centers delivery for fiscal year 26. So as you can see, we've been busy this year. So we wanted to again engage your interest on where are some of the pitfalls or some of the areas that we weren't able to fulfill in calendar year 25. And then help us think what should be the priorities for calendar year 26 based on these metrics that we have right now. So you want to take a moment, write those down in your paper because I'll be collecting those, and then we can jump in a little bit of discussion on what those needs are. And while that's happening, any questions about calendar year 25 goals?
A lot of work was done, so yeah, congratulations on that.
And I also want to recognize, I mean, the staff has done a great job. I also want to recognize former staff members, Stephanie Haynes and Lydia Campbell Mayer, who've done great work on this too, and making sure that we continue to keep the ball rolling.
So as we're thinking about goals, I want to reiterate a couple of things. That we have our regular programs that we're doing, so this is not an opportunity for the moment to say we're dishing for programs that we're doing, all right? So this is additive. So this is, in addition to the things that we're talking about, that you've heard about, you know about, what are other things we should be paying attention to in calendar year 26? Are there communities, audiences, ideas, what? This is additive to our core work as so as you're thinking about that, sort of put that as sort of top of mind, as in, this is additive to the work, is supportive to the core work that we do already, but what should we be thinking about? And from a practical perspective, what happens with these goals, we'll bring them back to you in March, Andre will bring them in a second. But what these goals then filter down to is individual staff and departmental work plans around both the programmatic goals for individual programs as well as the 3 or 4 agency goals to set out. So that's kind of the context you need for this. So big picture, what should we be thinking? Accomplishing. And again, it can be programmatic, it could also be something internal. That's how I don't.
I think, I'm not sure, I love the goals and don't have, I think that we don't have a lot yet in terms of work. I think maybe what I would want to consider is what has changed, like where fiscally things have changed for organizations. And so what's the impact in these goals? The practical implications that have them, some positive practical and some with some opportunity to or some gaps. But I think the outcomes where you see the impact of a change as we experience, because I think it's informative moving forward as the organization. When good times are good, tough times are tough. But I'd like to know how that has impacted some of the stuff that you've been measuring.
Anything from the folks online?
So we have, go ahead, Rand, please.
I was gonna say to build on, I feel like where Chad was going, one of my biggest concerns and visions, many things as well, is the loss of grant dollars and support, especially for a nonprofit arts organization. And so as I think about priorities, like one, I think, yes, we should track, maybe it's size of budget of people that we serve, like maybe that's a telling number. Not ask them exactly how much they're doing that, but the size of their budget, I think, will be telling of what they expect at least to come in. But then also thinking about and recognizing that we do a lot, technical support or mentorship opportunities to help nonprofit organizations generate more revenue, perhaps, think about their model a bit differently as our financial landscape is changing. I do feel concerned that quality of life programs will start to receive less funding in the future if there are concerns about us funding essential services.
The area building on that, that's something we are able to track for AOF within our organizations and see the reflection from fiscal year to fiscal year.
Yeah, and we actually ask budget size and project support too. So that's information we can absolutely analyze over time as well.
Maya, you're gonna say something?
Oh, probably, but no. Actually, And there was, I know in committee meetings, there was some conversation around, specific audiences, and I know Raymond, you had brought up, in the goals, I think in our goals discussions, some conversation around, our concern, or your concern, or the overall concern around, arts education and programs for youth, and so Open Gene obviously will mention that as well, so, so that feels like maybe that's something we should be engaging with, not quite sure how we'll think about that as a whole, but I think that's a space that we should.
Absolutely, and I was trying not to get too in the weeds with goals for Eric, but you're brilliant. What do you even say is a dietitian? I don't know. Maybe something really good if you're saying.
Oh, you're gonna send it.
But yeah, I was thinking about, as Jane was alluding, there will be school systems where the arts are, we'll say, deprioritized. I think it's the kind of thing to say, if it's not, cut out entirely. And I wonder if there is a way for us to track whether our program is meeting youth who are in that particular curriculum. You know what I mean? But again, it's difficult to do. That is a.
Well, we could certainly contemplate a goal to understand the arts education environment more thoroughly. And then based on that, think about what sort of interventions might be possible. But sure, I mean, one of the challenges we've always had as a commission is that we have a very small budget, we have a very small mighty staff, and our ability to impact individual district corporation action around arts education is very limited. But there are certainly some other things that we could do in this space that we have not done as much. So that's a space we can get back into. Again, understanding, with a clear understanding of what it is that set out to ambitious.
When the funding is awarded, I'm not sure what the rubric method is for the decision-making process, but is there a way in which the rubric can prioritize perhaps some of the programs that address quality of life or K-12 outreach in rural or urban communities that are underserved? Is there some way we can adjust the rubric in terms of some of the awarding of the grants?
Eric,
Yes.
speak to that?
Yes, yes, and to that question, yes, in the sense that some of that is baked into the arts project support eligibility, so. Colleges and universities that apply to our arts project support program must provide an arts learning experience for grades K through 12. Or serve a high priority geographic service county, a county that doesn't have a lot of arts organizations or arts experiences, and so. Some of that is baked into the arts project support specifically for higher education. But there's also opportunity to be more intentional about how the rubric is structured. As well as working with partners at the Department of Education to figure out where there might be space if we've got. Primary schools submitting project proposals of how we might find some additional support specifically for those proposals to kind of. Have a subset of supports designed specifically for those types of projects, see more of those coming up in our project support program. Did that answer the question, Renee? Okay.
Good. I've already gained feedback from everybody and we'll be collecting those forms from you all again. I will come back to you all in March, according to our calendar 26 goals. Do we want more than 4? Keep it at 4.
Now, we have a standing for the newer method, standing objective being 3, but we've not been able to.
We haven't done it. We started at 5
Yeah.
this year, this third year, we had 4, so maybe really moonshot it, try to just get to 3.
And in honor of our past chair.
Yeah.
And Valentine.
Yeah.
You know, if we got to 3, how pleased
She would be.
The goals is pain.
Yeah, I really, you gotta train. Andre, thank you very much. Why don't we circulate?
Yeah, just pass it on to the end.
That's all right.
And then I'd also add, I'm pretty glad.
It's coming to me. Staff. Staff.
So,
I'll pull more over. Atlanta knows, yeah.
okay, we're next gonna go to Eric. Eric, if you want to come back up. Eric's gonna present some information on 2026 ATF fall cycle. When this session is done, we're gonna have a short break, but it's gonna be a relatively short break.
Yeah.
This is for-
Yeah. So after this agenda,
yeah.
item, we will be on the break for 10 minutes.
Thank you, Eric.
Well, we got to end to start in 10 minutes, so.
I'm gonna ask, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm standing to be great, so I'll keep moving here. So I'm talking about arts project support grant. This is a project grant up to $4,000. This broad eligibility open to any 501c3 nonprofit, 501c6, and this is for public facing short-term art projects. And as was mentioned earlier, this was the first year that we offered it twice in a single fiscal year. So we're really happy to do that, and want to talk through a couple of the exciting metrics of what the applicant pool looked like for the fall cycle. So we had a spring cycle earlier that opened in January of 2025, and now this is our second cycle that opened this fall and closed in September. And I'll be talking about the recommendations here in a second, but a couple of things to note. So 166 total eligible applicants in this fall cycle of arts project support. We had 266 applicants in the spring arts project support cycle. Which means between those two, because people, if they were not funded in the spring, they could come back in the fall, they could apply a second time. And so if we're looking at just the unique applicant organizations that applied, we had 381, which represents a 20% increase in unique organization applicants from last year. And then what's really pretty incredible is if you look at just total application numbers, so we're including the duplicates in there, just the total application volume. That was 432 applications this year for arts project support, which represents a 34% increase from total applications last year. And in the past 2 years, since FY24, we've seen an 84% increase in arts project support applications, which is pretty mind blowing. It's almost completely doubled in the last 2 years. So it's a little bit bittersweet because that's happened as our budget has shrunk, but the sweet part to that is that 84% increase over the last 2 years did not happen by mistake. It was not magic. It was a collective effort from our communications department that has done phenomenal work getting the word out about this program, our regional arts partners who've worked tirelessly across their entire regions, Anne's work in the community services space, as well as Lydia's when she was here. And the whole team really going out and doing those site visits that Andre mentioned. That's why this has happened. And so I want to give a kudos to the entire team, because that's incredible growth and engagement and awareness of these opportunities. And we certainly wish we could support more of them, but it's really incredible to see that growth over time. So a couple other numbers there. You can see around first-time applicants, 31% of the pool in this cycle were first-time applicants to the Arts Commission. So still continuing to expand knowledge about the work that we do and the resources that we offer. You can see that 51 came back after receiving funding in the first round. We had a dozen art organizations who did not receive operating support apply, and then 3 colleges and universities, which was a little lower than the spring count. So as I was talking about in terms of the application volume, you can see the unique applicants, and it continues to rise. So we've got increasing demand for the program, which is exciting to see all the arts activities that are happening across the state. It's a lot of organizations, both in the arts space and outside of the arts space, doing great work. This program we've received applications from 80 of the 92 counties, which is really incredible. And as Anne will talk about later, between project support and operating support, there were only 6 counties that were not served by these 2 programs. So our core, what we reference as our core programs, our operational support and our project support, is really covering so much of the state, which is what we would like to see.
Real quick, before you keep moving forward, you providing a sense of what APS program is for the new commissioners?
Sure, yeah, Arts Project Support is a project grant up to $4,000. That's broad eligibility. And applicants, schools, colleges, universities, nonprofits are all eligible to apply. And it's one of our core programs, in addition to operating support, which is just for 501c3 nonprofit arts organizations. You can see here some of the darker counties, some of it's blocked by our Zoom friends, but you see certainly Marion County is extremely a darker color because it'll receive 50+ applications in a single year for project support. So where our larger cities are, of course, as we'd expect, there's more applications.
So when the groups reapply in the fall that didn't get approved in the spring, I'm assuming with the tech support and everything that's going on, that they can alter their application and improve it, and they're counseled on this, that's part of the process.
Correct. That's a great question. So our regional arts partnership, we've got 11 regions in the state. Yeah, we don't have a region 11. It goes from 10 to 12, which is a little confusing, but we have 11 regions, and those regional partners, and Kayla will speak to this a little bit later, those regional partners provide technical assistance to applicants, and they do also provide draft reviews. So we offer that opportunity every cycle where somebody can reach out and say, could you give my application a once over, provide some of those, anything else like that. And we also provide a lot of that technical assistance as well when people reach out. So they absolutely get feedback, and I'll talk about in a second how the review process works for project support. But we do have external reviewers that also provide written comments on the application, and a pretty astounding amount of written comments as well, as I'll note in a second. So really exciting to see the reach of this. Just to give you a little bit of a sense of who applies in this program, mostly nonprofits apply to the Arts Project Support Program. With a little bit of a mixture of municipal and county, and then none of the above are fiscally sponsored applicants. So they're not quite at a nonprofit designation, but they're using the nonprofit designation of a fiscal sponsor to apply. Here are some of the types of activities that are proposed in this program. This was for the fall cycle. A lot of arts instruction. So this Renee was alluding to earlier around how do we prioritize arts instruction within some of our grant programs. We see a lot of arts instruction, arts education work happening in the project support program, and certainly a lot of public performances of some sort, and a lot of public art and fairs and festivals. Indiana's got all sorts of fairs and festivals all over the state. So we always see a new one pop up in the pool every year that we got to put on our calendar to go check it out. Yes. So this a sense of that here, and then I'm moving into the arts project support recommendations here. So as mentioned in the reviewers, we had all applications reviewed by 3 to 4 reviewers who went in and provided a score and left comments according to the criteria. And I want to give a shout out to Britt for all of her work with the great timing for all of her. With the comments, reviewers for just because of this cycle alone provided 700+ pages of written comments. It's like a Harry Potter book and a half, right? So the reviewers have spent an immense amount of time, and then staff has also spent an immense amount of time collating all those comments, gathering them in the document, and they are all available in the online system to applicants when we release these funding notifications based on the recommendations I'll present in a second. So a huge kudos for all the work. These programs don't happen without really phenomenal reviewers, and so they provide a ton of feedback. So as we're moving in now to the recommendation section, I want to give a little bit of a precursor as to where we were in the spring and how we approached funding the Arts Project Support Program. So this program, the focus of Arts Project Support Program is providing broad access to arts experiences. That is what this program is meant to do. And so to meet that goal, the funding approach funds the highest scoring eligible application in each county until the money runs out. And there's no threshold score for eligibility. So we go down through the list of counties, and we don't fund the second application in the same county until we've funded the highest scoring application in every county that's applied. And again, that's to provide broad access across the state. And so through that process in the spring, we funded 114 projects. And in the fall, we opted to take that same approach, the commission recommended we keep that, stay true to that approach. And we kept the no threshold score for eligibility and funded the highest scoring eligible application in each county for the 1 year. Where we landed with that approach, maybe if the thing is, I did get a little power warning on this computer. I don't know if it's gonna go on. Or it's frozen. There we go. Thank you. So with that approach, we had 53 counties that applied for the Arts Project Support Program. And 53 counties were awarded a grant. We had enough money to just get through the 53 counties that applied. And so that was the funding approach, again, thinking about broad access that was recommended. And so through this approach, a little over half of the grantees that we're recommending come from rural communities. And the percent recommended just for this cycle is 32% of applicants recommended, which is a total of about $205,000. And you can see the regional breakdown there as well. And these grants are up to $4,000, but people may request less than $4,000. So that's why those averages are vary a little bit, but people get whatever they requested. So if you requested 1,000 and you were funded, you got 1,000. We had 29 first-time APS grantees that we're recommending, and 113 not recommended. So in your packets, you see the full list there of recommendations. It's an alpha order by organization name. And like I mentioned before, this was an extremely competitive round, and we had record increases in applications, and we would love to be able to fund more proposals. And so there are a lot of really phenomenal projects that were not funded in this round. It was extremely competitive. So any questions on the recommendations? This shows the recommended application. Pause for a second. Any questions, comments, concerns on the Arts Project Support recommendations?
Just this program has always been competitive. We have always had far more applicants than we have. In the past, in our previous fiscal year, the annual budget, we were roughly able to fund approximately 70 to 75% of that. We are now in a space where we're funding 30 to 40%. That is due to the fact that it's fun, the growth of which is great. It's very pointed out, that's fantastic for us. But then also as a reminder that the agency is operating at a 33% budget reduction. So that constraint, that naturally obviously has constrained our ability to provide as many grants as we have. But yeah, just a little context on us, especially from new commissioners, kind of where we are right now. Growth has always been, obviously, budget reduction sort of down even then. And you can see sort of what we're looking at.
Thanks, Mark. This is an action item. So do we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Thanks, Chad. Further discussion. Austin, do you want to start out with roll call?
Yes, sir. Raina.
Aye.
Chad.
Aye.
Jeannie.
Aye.
Dawn. Dave.
Aye.
Greg.
Aye.
Jake. Kelty.
Aye.
Scott. Rick.
Aye.
Walter.
Aye.
Renee. She might be frozen.
Maybe we'll. I quietly.
Did you say aye, Renee?
Aye.
Yeah, thank you. That is everyone.
Great, thank you. It passes. So as my announcement, we're gonna have a brief break. 10 minutes. Now, hopefully that means 10 minutes.
Yes.
Okay. So try to be back by, yeah. 10:32. 10:32. All right, thank you.
Every year.
Hey, I hate to interrupt conversation and just to keep everybody, we're 2 minutes behind schedule. I mean, if anybody was down. Well, maybe 3 now.
No, great.
So, thank you all for getting back, promptly, we know it was quick, transition. This next assessment, we're gonna hear from, several programs, and then we're gonna have action items at the end. Once we go, through, programs. So at this point, back to you again.
Right, it's a lot. Yeah, second half of the Super Bowl, here we go. Thanks for bearing with me. So you're gonna hear a couple frameworks, and we'll start with arts project support. And just for some context on what a framework is. A framework defines some of the key high-level pieces of what a grant program is, what it's intended to do, and some of the nuts and bolts around timeline, grant awards, just to give sort of the core components of what we're proposing to do. So when we're referencing framework, it's just giving the overview of these grant programs that we hope to offer in the future. So starting with arts project support, we just heard about the recommendations, and now we're talking about FY27 already. FY27 arts project support, again, a lot of similarities to what happened this past year with arts project support in terms of the structure. This is grants that provide funding to support a public-facing short-term arts project or arts activity, and broad eligibility. So nonprofit arts organizations in any discipline, 501c3 and C6, non-arts nonprofits, libraries, chambers of commerce, tourism organizations, social service organizations, as well as public and private schools, pre-K through high school, and colleges and universities. So very broad eligibility for the arts project support program. A couple notes on eligibility for public and private schools, and this is a little bit of a clarification on the types of projects they can propose in this program, is that these need to be something that is public facing in some way. So the project needs to culminate in some sort of public performance, or there's an artist residency or a teaching artist, or something's happening out of school time. So that it is clear that there's a public engagement component for public and private schools. And then as well, colleges and universities, as I alluded to earlier, this is the same as last year. They need to provide community arts learning experiences for grades pre-K through 12, or arts experiences in high priority geographic service areas. And that these are eligibility criteria. So if the projects are not reflecting these pieces, they will not be eligible to move forward in the process. The goal, again, is to provide Indiana's people and communities with access to arts experiences. This is about broad access. And so those outcomes, and these are connected to the strategic framework impacts we talked about earlier in the meeting, are around access to arts experiences and underserved geographies and population engaging and benefiting from arts experiences. So again, we are proposing to offer this program twice, a spring and a fall cycle. January, we're proposing that the program open again in January. January 8th is what we've got slotted for this program to open here coming up tomorrow. And then we'll open it again in July with the July through September application window. And so the spring cycle runs on the state fiscal year grant period. So that'll open in January. They'll have till March to apply, and then if funded, they do their project activities between July 1 and June 30. And then for the fall cycle, which is the one we just talked about funding recommendations for, that cycle would operate on the calendar year. So the people that we just recommended for funding, their grant period begins January 1 and runs on the calendar year. The award amounts again are up to $4,000, which stays the same as this past year, and they are funded in full with whatever they request. And then here are the 3 evaluative criteria, which very closely mirror what the criteria were for this year, which include project quality and planning, community benefit, and project management. Something I want to put on our radar that is in the framework this year, as we've talked about, the volume of applications and project support continues to increase. And we will likely end up in a situation next year where we have more counties that have applied for the program than we have money to support, which means we cannot use the same funding formula that we've used for years in this project support. We will need to create some funding priorities to make decisions about who is funded in this program. And so you see a couple that Arts Commission is proposing that are sort of in there in broad strokes. But as we actually see the application numbers get closer to that time, we'll be coming to the commission to work together on how we build in priorities for the arts project support that reflect the moment and what's going on. And I know Renee mentioned arts education earlier, we've been talking about that, so maybe that becomes an additional piece of this as well. So I just want to throw this out there as sort of a prefacing the sort of right turn we're heading for here, coming up with project support in regards to selection priorities. And then lastly, just a couple notable changes on FY26 arts project support that I've already kind of highlighted, but just want to draw a point to things that are different from last year. The eligibility for public and private pre-K through high schools around the type of project. The funding priority piece that I just talked about is a change. And then lastly, and this is one I haven't talked about yet, and this is a little bit more risk management administrative on our end. For the first time ever, we're going to have a concurrent grant cycle. So the people that were awarded funding with the vote we just made will be eligible to apply again in January for a separate project because we'll be switching over fiscal years. So what we just talked about was fiscal year 26. What we're talking about now is fiscal year 27. And so because of that, there's going to be a 6-month period where they might have funding between 2 fiscal years for 2 different projects, which is a new scenario for us to be in as a commission because we've never offered this twice. So we never had run into this. And so one of the things that we're recommending is that while grantees would be eligible to be paid in full at the beginning of the grant period, we want to withhold the ability to make a multiple payment program or full payment until the previous project is completed to make sure that all requirements have been met before we disperse a second grant payment to the same organization. So that's a long, complicated risk management administrative way, but I just want to note that for you all since that's a slight variation. Any questions, comments, concerns on the arts project support FY27 framework? And again, this encompasses both rounds of arts projects. Good, okay, great, good. Okay, Ann.
No, Eric is still doing.
Oh, Eric. I'm almost there, Dave, I promise. I'll
continue with the second half.
All right, arts and health. We received some support from the National Endowment for the Arts to do some arts and health related programming and investments. And this is a new supplement to the National Endowment for the Arts Award to states. And this was a competitive cycle that we applied for as a sort of addendum to our usual operating partnership agreement with the National Endowment for the Arts, and received some money to invest in the arts and health space. And for the Indiana Arts Commission, our arts and health work is focused around older adults in Indiana, and it's called Lifelong Arts. It is a creative aging initiative that has been around since 2021. We've built a lot of great relationships with aging service providers, arts organizations, teaching artists that provide sequential learning for older adults all across the state. And so as we head into the new year, there are a couple of things I'm excited to announce. One is that we will be offering a free statewide summit to support learning and expansion of the lifelong arts model. And actually, I do have a date to give you, March 23rd, Monday, March 23rd, save the date. We will have the summit will be taking place in Indianapolis on the University of Indianapolis campus with the Center for Aging and Community. We've worked with them for a number of years on research related to creative aging and the impact that it's had in Indiana. And we're really excited to offer this summit. Will be a free statewide summit. I think the first free statewide event we've done since Arts Homecoming, which was 2019, I think was the last one of those. So really excited to be offering sort of a larger format for people to convene and talk about this. We're also working with Anna Ross, who's helping as a program manager for our creative aging work and helping with the summit as well to get that off the ground. And our long-term vision for creative aging in the state of Indiana is that state and local agencies that serve older adults view arts as a critical intervention to support the older adult population and help them age well and stay in their communities. As well as arts providers, these are arts organizations, incorporate this into their programming, as a lot of them already serve older adults in their community already. So more to come on that. A little bit more about who the target audience is for the summit that I just referenced. State and local agencies that work with older adults, certainly, aging service providers, healthcare systems, and I want to asterisk this because this is a newer constituency group for us in terms of engaging in creative aging work, but certainly as our healthcare systems continue to expand their physical footprint across the state, we want to engage them with opportunities to integrate the arts in their community-based work that they may be doing in those spaces. So we want to leverage this summit to invite them into these conversations and hopefully connect them with resources to be advocates and partners in the space. Certainly trained artists who work with older adults and arts organizations. And so where we're heading here is that we will be as a sort of tag along to the summit offering some additional grants in creative aging, sequential learning, which will be coming to you in March to talk more about the specifics of that, but we plan to open up a project grant program to people that have not participated in the lifelong arts program before to help expand our network of trained providers. And people who attend the summit will be eligible then to apply for the grant program, which is helpful also getting attention among people who register since it is a free event as well. Also excited to announce in alignment in sort of concert with the summit is the Lifelong Arts Toolkit. I built a big toolkit that walks through all the steps that we've learned along the way in the Lifelong Arts program and gives people a step-by-step guide, templates, worksheets to plug into this work and be able to implement that in their communities. And we also submitted a grant to the National Assembly of State Arts Agencies, NASA, not the space people, but the NASA with 2 A's at the end, which is the State Arts Agency professional group, which represents us nationally. And we will find out about that grant we submitted to receive additional support for this work later in January. So we'll have an update for you in March related to that. And continuing to explore additional partnerships with other organizations that support older adults across the world. So that's where we're at with the arts and health work. There is no action or no framework here, but just wanted to give you a quick update on that. And finally, that is all from me.
Anything more? Thanks, sir. Thank you. Well, Anne, thank you.
Hello, Angela Hanson, Services Manager, and I'll be presenting 2 frameworks for programs that I manage. First is Every County Funded. So just a recap, this is a program that is designed to fund counties that are not funded by our project support grants or operational support grants. So these are identified each year, the list changes. And then I'm starting that process of identifying potential applicants for this coming fiscal year through partners like Patronicity, Indiana Main Street, IU's Center for Rural Engagement, and Regional Arts Partners. So this year's list includes 7 counties. That's down from 15 last year. So the program's working, and I'm working myself out of a job on this project. So in Region 5, we have Rush County and Blackford County. In Region 8, Lawrence County. Region 4, we have Newton and White. And then Region 12, Washington. If you were in committee meetings before 2 p.m., you'll notice that Washington is an addition. There was a small data error in APS this past cycle, so Washington was added to the list. The goals of this program are just to identify local allies and stakeholders and eventually move them to our core programs of project support and operational support. This program opens next week on December 17th and it will run through February 20th. The grant program is June 1st next year through May 31st of 2027. They are eligible for awards up to $10,000 per county. The goal, though, is to find 2 projects in each county for $5,000 each. And just reviewing, this is a very hands-on program, so I'll be walking them through the entire process, making sure their project is eligible and a quality project, and it benefits their community and is sustainable. We adjust the budget. We have a little bit of a wiggle room to reallocate some funds based on who applies in APS. If it's a target county and we are able to move a little bit of money over from this program, we do that, and that's what we did this time. This time it's 70-30. 30 was redirected to APS for last. So. Any questions on every county?
This is a reminder, especially for our new commissioners, our goal is direct investment in all 92 counties. And Ann's work is critical in filling that gap. Because for years and years, we had a gap, anywhere between 16 to 20 counties, we did not do direct investment in. We developed the every county funded program to do that, to help meet that gap. And Ann has done tremendous work over a very short time with us in helping us with this. Our goal eventually is to not only have direct investment in all 92 counties, but have ongoing vibrant arts activity in all 92. That takes a lot of hands-on work, a lot of one-on-one coaching and things. So. Okay.
All right, I'll move on to Creative Convergence. This is the second framework for your consideration. Creative Convergence is a team-based program, and this includes a workshop, a 2-day workshop, and we want to see cross-sector collaboration in the team. So it's 3 to 4 people on a team. We want to see people from the community, economic development, and artists on these teams. They receive a travel stipend, and at the end of their workshop, they're eligible for a $5,000 early registration. This is in partnership with Ball State University's Indiana Communities Institute. They do the curriculum presentation during the workshop, and the cohort meets throughout the grant period periodically just to have check-in. And this year they're from all over the state, so it's really nice to get together and talk about their projects that they're working on. This year, a little bit of a different twist, we're offering the opportunity to partner with Creating Places. And this is a crowd granting campaign with patronicity. So if they want to take that $5,000 grant from IAC and apply it for the long-term project, they have the chance to increase their. The evaluation criteria for this round of Creative Convergence is the same as the first round. We're here for that. We're sort of doing a copy paste. Team cohesion and continuity and community engagement are the 2 elements that we require, and these are reviewed. So really the goals for this program again are to build cross-sector collaboration in community. So they are activating community leaders in their towns and getting them on board with arts projects, and then advancing arts as an infrastructure for community vitality. This is really a follow of place initiative, and then equipping teams to sustain the some communities even start arts commissions or arts councils as part of this program. The application will open January 14th, run through February 20th. Grant period will be May 15th, 2026 through May 30th, 2027. Again, they're eligible for a $5,000 grant at the end of the workshop and able to take that and increase their effective Creating Places. Any questions?
I have a comment.
Yes, Don, you just.
I get to participate in this program. I missed the 2-day training that was it, but we have a brand new director for the Marion Arts Commission. The first time we've ever had a director, and this training actually has helped, train him as well and get him more involved. And Anne has been wonderful. Because of this, we have our city economic development person on our team. And it was so fun to meet with him and see his eyes light up about art, because he thinks about economic growth and you know what I mean, but he wasn't thinking about art. And because of the way that this program is set up, they want somebody economic development, And so, I mean, I think that's probably his first immersion into art. And so now every city project that he is going to help create it or whatever, he's gonna leave a space for art to go with that project. And I was thrilled, you know, so that this started all of those conversations, and so we have a wonderful experience with it and with him as well. So I just wanted to kind of from inside.
Thank you for sharing that, much appreciated. Great, thanks, Sam, keep working on, working somehow. Yeah.
We'll find something else for it.
Okay, next, is your.
Morning.
So, yeah, we'll be on your own, evaluation findings as well as, the experiences as well. So, just a quick background, we conducted our arts assessment in 2023, and so with those findings, we translated 6 different programs. With those 6 different programs, we paused on them to evaluate the program and its impact and how we could slot this program back into the other programs that we kind of designed to serve artists and programs today. So with the impact report, we conducted the evaluation with Measured Resources out of Ohio. And so they conducted an analysis of internal participant evaluations. So we do evaluations upon acceptance into the cohort to see kind of where they are in their understanding of business. And then we do a evaluation after they go through the 3-day work done. They also do an evaluation after they complete their 1-year fellowship. The alumni survey was distributed to all participants and got a 43% rate of response. That's even a little low, but that is kind of a great response rate considering that we don't have much interaction with them after they graduate out of the program. And so the full study report was completed in September of this year, and we presented it as the Creative Economy Summit hosted about that in October. So the findings kind of focused on 3 different areas: program satisfaction, individual outcomes, and then the outcomes of those individuals in their respective communities in the state. And so with program satisfaction, we have a 92% satisfaction rate. And all quoted they were able to state their unique value proposition of their portfolio for their business as they kind of explore opportunities to interact with other people and other businesses. Individual outcomes, so they are able to maintain the knowledge of business topics, even if they weren't aware of business topics before. And they are able to increase their action taking. So with that knowledge they gain, they're able to kind of act with what they know now in their different businesses. And then with outcome of individual communities, 50% of them are collaborating with other artists, whether it be right in their community or within the state overall. And then 53% with their networks outside of the arts. So they're kind of working to create a convergence point. They're working with economic development corporations or just other businesses who are interested in incorporating arts into their outcomes. So yes, I already said this, but we were able to present the findings at the Creative Economy Summit, most of our hires. We released a press release with the help of the communications team to kind of share those findings as well. And then we've been able to share the findings with vertical models, great help there. And then localized training. So we're moving to a localized format. So in 2021, because of the pause of 2020 with COVID, we kind of went into a localized format with different areas. And we're going to kind of revisit that model so that we're able to make this more relevant to artists where they are, not just in a more central cohort that we are kind of visiting now. So we have an EY out for that, for teams that are interested in kind of maybe helping us host the program in that way. It will close on December 19th. And so we use the word entity instead of team because that can mean anything. That can mean our arts council. It can mean economic development. It could mean a business organization who kind of provides education to individuals. But they can all work in tandem with each other to kind of present on curriculum in their own way. And then, yeah, We'll present that model in 2027, where we're going in 2026. Sorry. Okay, I'm well into it now, but sorry. But yes, so that they can, kind of receive the training on the curriculum, warrant. Any questions on the findings before I move into the framework for this year?
Okay, 40%, I mean, this is really good.
Thank you.
You did a great job. Yeah.
So, we're gonna finish out with the one last intro model of the ORANC program. So what is ORANC? Should have said that ahead of time, but here we are. Program design for integrated entrepreneurs to take charge of their career through a portfolio model, through exploring community engagement within that model as well. So they're introduced to sustainable practice through business concepts. Who's eligible? Early career emerging artists are best suited, 18 years or older, US citizen, Indiana resident, and kind of work in the NEA disciplines that we've shared before. So goals of the program is to empower creators to pursue a feasible portfolio career and then provide funds, $2,000 for 1 year fellowship. Outcomes of that, we would meet, it would meet the artist's needs and assess in that assessment that we talked about in 2023, build knowledge and capacity of business, and then connect people to opportunities to create. The application is going to open on January 14th, stay open for about 6 weeks to February 18th. The grant period, so they go through the workshop in May, but the grant period for their actual fellowship is September 1 of 2026, and September 1 of 2027. The fellowship award amount is $2,000. And then the evaluation priorities, so we will evaluate the applicants for the cohort selection, and then we will also evaluate their fellowship applications as well. Notable changes, so the potential local host that I talked about, the EOI being open for, will be present to kind of observe how the workshop is designed and kind of flows. We will decrease the cohort size from 30 to 20 people to kind of accommodate those local host observations. And then the ongoing cohort engagement will kind of be circled around the fellowship as well. So we'll kind of engage them more throughout that fellowship period than we have in the past. And that is it on the framework. Any questions on the framework before I move to work in progress? Yeah. So work in progress, we are coming to a conclusion on our work in progress, micro support grant and exchange labs. And so here are our list of grantees. We moved from 12 in our fall cycle or in our spring cycle to 33 in this cycle. And we were able to add an addition of Chesterton Art Center as a facilitator in the North region. And then Grady's Art Supply was our facilitator in the Central region. We did not receive the applications from the Southern region, but we're working well to kind of include them in our ORANC model as well. Other things about it, so we're sunsetting the program. However, we're going to pull out some of the best practices from that different model in the future. And so a lot of that was around training the facilitators on how to engage artists in their area in discussion and development. They were really excited to kind of engage the curriculum that we built around the creative process so that they could provide insight and resources on how these individuals could complete their work artists' desires. Any questions on work in progress at all? So as I conclude this, I want to remind you to remember and share. So last in our September business meeting, we talked about vision and venture. I just want to remind you that that application is open and will close on January 8th. Vision and venture is a kind of subset program for people with less than 1 year of business experience. They're kind of trying to get their business idea off the ground. And then ORANC, that EOI is open until December 19th. And then the artist application will. So please help us share. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan. Much appreciated. Good report. A lot of great work being done. Okay, let's move to item 5 and hear from our regional artists. Excuse me. before we go to item 5, we want to approve action items, so at the bottom of 4, each of, those, recommendations that we received in this last segment, since the break. So we need a motion. Thank you. Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay.
Call the roll.
Don't, you are trying to.
It's my one thing.
Okay. Go to a roll. Thank you.
Raina, Chad, Jeannie,
Aye.
Dawn, Dave,
Aye.
Greg, Jake, Kelsey,
Aye.
Scott, Rick,
Aye.
Walter,
Aye.
Renee.
Aye.
That is everyone.
Thank you, Austin. Much appreciated. Can I go to item 5? Okay, so we're gonna go to item 5 and hear a report from our regional arts partners. Kayla, are you up?
Hi,
I think Sherry's gonna kick us off.
Great, Sharon, go for it.
Hi, hey, hi, everybody. Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Good, good. Oh yeah, Kayla and I are tag teaming a little bit today. She's going to provide our regional partner update, but we were asked on behalf of the IAC staff to provide a little bit of information about the regional partnership for the benefit of our new commissioners, and also, I guess, a little review for all you old commissioners. Old only because of your service, not your age. So as Eric talked a little bit about earlier, we do have 11 partners dispersed across our partner organizations that are across the state. There is no number 11 anymore, not because of any reason except when things were restructured county-wise. It was easier just to say, okay, we're doing away with 11 and we have a 12, but no 11. It's sort of like the elevator floor, the number 13 floor in buildings or something like that. Anyway, we have the partner organizations that make up the network of regional partners and our jobs. And these partners are, some of us are regional arts councils, some of us are community foundations. And so we're a very diverse group of organizations. We each have our service region counties that we, provide the services on behalf of the IAC to. And our goal is to improve, increase the access and the reach of the IAC services, which includes grants making, of course, and then other service specific to our regions, which each of us in our own regions are developing for 2026, our regional service delivery plan. And so we will be, in January, we'll be presenting those plans to each other, and we'll be sharing the opportunity to sometimes, do across the region workshops and that type of thing. But mostly we look at our region and what are the needs in our region, and determine from there, the types of services, workshops, whatever that service might be that our region is most in need of, as far as we can tell by what we've observed in their grants making, what we've observed in their abilities to engage in the community, and other such factors. All of those things, of course, being in alignment with the IAC's vision and their mission. We meet twice a month, every other week we meet. We have been meeting every other week via Zoom since the pandemic. when we really were compelled to come together because there was just so much going on and or not going on in the arts. And so those every other week meetings allow a lot of good communication with the IAC staff, the sharing of information with each other, reporting on what's going on in our regions, and then just working with the IAC staff and helping to do the kinds of things that are helpful to them to kind of be their boots on the ground throughout the state. You talked, I think there was a question about technical assistance for grants making. And certainly the regional partners are in a position to provide that on a regular basis. So we do provide that type of technical assistance that our organizations, our grant applicants might need in all the stages of grants making. So before they've applied, you know, we make sure they've got an eligible project. We make sure they understand everything that's in the narrative questions. We review their drafts, particularly for first-time applicants. We look at those drafts for them and say, well, hey, it looks good, but you might think about this and this and this, as long as they submit that to us within the deadline. And then we, you know, provide all the information directly to our grant applicants, to our arts organizations, things that are that should be brought to their attention, programs, workshops, grant opportunities, other program opportunities. We work with each of the staff member directly. You know, we work with Jordan, we work with Eric, we work with Ann, so we basically are just an extension of the IAC staff, but we're positioned throughout the state in our own regions, providing those services. We help, you know, during the application process, we help to find the review process. We submit names of potential panelists to the Arts Commission for the arts project support. And then we put together our panels regionally for arts organization support. We make sure if grant applications come through that need modifications, that those are noted. And so those changes can be made so that they are eligible to be funded and they can make those modifications at the appropriate time. Post-application, we provide a lot of feedback to we make the awards announcements so our community is aware of the Indiana Arts Commission funding that's coming into our counties. We basically are the primary contacts with the grantees and just do all the kinds of things that we need to do to make sure that they are following the needed recommendations in order to get their funding and to get their contracts and to get the money deposited in those checking accounts. And so basically it's about us just being the boots on the ground and doing our best to make sure that the arts are accessible to every county and every individual in our region. And I think that's pretty well summarizes the structure. And so if there are any questions, I'll turn it over to Kayla. She's just going to give you a brief update of what's going on with our partnerships right now.
Thanks, Sherry. So our regional partners met yesterday morning on Zoom, and we welcome new additions from regions 1, 7, 8, and 12. We're excited about additional new projects funded through the fall arts project support cycle, and happy to have successfully made it through another round. We'll be following up with recipients on their next steps forms and working with the IAC on any required modifications needed by organizations. And then we're also gearing up for FY27 arts project support, the spring process kicking off in January, as was mentioned earlier. And we appreciate the detailed timeline that the IAC staff has put together with both external and internal deadlines for each step in the process. And then we're also, of course, helping promote various upcoming opportunities throughout our regions, such as the America 250 program, Creative Aging Summit, On-Ramp, Vision and Venture, Creative Convergence, and then also look forward to seeing projects come forward in 26 as a result of the Ready Arts and Culture planning process. So lots coming up, and I would say it's going well. Thank you.
Attorney Caleb, thank you very much. The Regional Office Partners is really key to do a lot of work that makes everything roll around.
Eric, do you want to take a second to mention a quick update on Cumberland Partners?
Sure, yeah. I want to shout out a new partner joining in Regions 8, Greater Bloomington area, and Region 12, which is Greater Madison area. The Indiana University Arts and Humanities Council is coming on board to serve both of those regions. They have a team of 4 to 5 people, so they're going to have a person for each region. So really excited to bring them on board. And then you'll be hearing an update about the Greater Evansville area here soon. The Arts Council in Evansville has been led tremendously by Ann McKim. A lot of their services and programs are being absorbed into the library there. The Evansville Vanderburg Library has really wonderful setup to advance that work in the Greater Evansville area. So we continue to be in conversation with the library and with Ann, and we'll be back in March with a formal update on the Region 10 partner as well. Thanks.
Right. Thanks, sir. Okay, are we ready to move to our discussion? So I think this is going to be a really interesting segment. Mike can explain it a little bit more. We're really appreciative to have Jim here. And we have had, many of us have heard discussions about this initiative, but really having the chance to hear more from both of you would be great.
Yeah, so just to hit up quickly, as I mentioned in several PBMs in the past, the IC's been working with Indiana Economic Development Corporation's Ready Initiative. And who better to hear about all the work that we're doing than the guy who's responsible, that's Jim Robinson. So I want to thank Jim for being here to share a bit more about Ready and what's happening in the arts and culture.
As we pull that up, I heard it ready for general understanding of this. Okay. Sometimes this is my everyday waking hour. Sometimes I just start talking about it in supervision.
Give us the acronym.
Yeah.
Because I can't.
Yeah. Regional Economic Acceleration Development Initiative.
Oh, we here, but I can't share for some reason my Zoom is here. So 1 second. So you don't see it.
So I'll go into the background a little bit on it. Hold up, but we work with 15 regions statewide. Some of them are RDAs, regional development authorities. Some of them are nonprofits. I would say about half and half. But generally, we're looking at multiple counties coming together to talk about economic development together. As I said, I'm with the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. We have a team of 4 people, including myself, that are basically running this initiative. The $1 billion initiative, actually, it's a $1.25 billion initiative now. It's a lot of work. I'm really jealous of the data that you guys are able to pull. We have so much data, but we have very little capacity to be able to get granular on it like that. So I'm really interested in how you're tracking that stuff and but before I can get into Ready, I need to jump back 10 years ago to the regional city.
Can I ask you to just stand by the mic? So we can, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So before I get into Ready specifically, we'll jump into the Regional Cities Initiative. This was 10 years ago under then Governor Pence. Challenged IEDC to figure out what is the biggest threat to economic development in the state of Indiana. Our research pointed to population loss as being the #1 existential threat to your economic development. So we went about creating an initiative, researching other metros, other regional areas that we saw had growth patterns that we'd like to replicate. And really formulated these 9 core principles around creating a bold vision, having tenacious leadership, having a region that rallies around the city, engaging and strengthening industry, regional investment focused on quality of place, having plans that were visionary and market-based, private sector investment, making sure that we're financing regional transformation in a multifaceted way. We have long-term partnerships so that these are not just one-off investments, so that these are, beyond a single governor or a single mayor, so that these regions that are successful have long-term partnerships. I mean, you can look at CICP is a great example of that. And they're engaging their higher education partners in this regional transformation. So Regional Cities was a much smaller initiative, but it really is the genesis of everything that we wanted to do with Ready. We were able to fund 3 regions with the Regional Cities Initiative. Had a lot of success with that program. I think one of the other factors that kind of led into Ready was they had a 1-to-1 match on all dollars that went into this initiative, 1-to-1 local and a 3-to-1 private. I think they saw a 10-to-1 total overall return from the Regional Cities Initiative. And that enticed, the next administration, so the Hogan administration was able to, in 2021, launch the Ready program. Ready 1 pulled together the 17 regions. We had $500 million of ARPA that we were able to dedicate towards similar ideas around that Regional Cities Initiative, but saying, hey, look, what if we took this Regional Cities Initiative and instead of 2 or 3 regions that we could award, we had a capacity of scale to be able to affect the whole state, right? So the largest award that we made in Ready 1 was $50 million. 3 different regions get that. 4 different regions get it. 5 different regions get that. Mixing it up with regional cities. But so this was kind of we had regional cities, we had a baby step towards something bigger. This is the first time we've attempted anything of this scale. It is ARPA, it does have a sunset date of 2026, which at the time seemed pretty far away. Right now, it's keeping me up at night. But the way that Ready works is that these regional entities contract directly with the IEDC. We make these allocations for the regions and they get to do the project selection and bring the projects to us. So I get a lot of questions around how projects get picked by the IEDC, how projects come to get Ready funding, and it really is done at the regional level, right? So they have these different regional makeups, mayors, other elected officials can be a part of that decision-making process, and that rolls up to the region, gets to decide what their priorities are, what their portfolios are. So we're here to support that, basically. We've been creating a robust grants management tool. Since these are federal dollars, we have Ernst & Young helping us with compliance on this. So like I said, we have no shortage of data. It's just a lot. It's the scale and the scope is pretty massive. Here's where we are with Ready 1 right now. So like I said, have a year left of this program. We've been working with, fortunately, we were able to be gifted a Ready 2, so we've been able to have conversations with projects that aren't going to be able to pull in time for the 2026 sunset date to say, hey, let's kick us into your Ready 2 portfolio, let's pull forward some Ready 1 projects. A little easier said than done, but we've been able to make it work so far. But we have pretty good confidence in all of our projects being able to pull by the end of 2026, and that we won't have to return any funding to the federal government. Right now, we're about 80% of the way obligated through this. We have 393 right now. I'm pushing my team. I know that it's going to be a short couple weeks here with the holidays, but my stretch goal is to get us to 400 by the end of the year. I told them I'd get a Costco date. Did that. We'll see if I need to make a trip to Costco here, but yeah, the goal is to get to 400 by the end of the year and be well in advance of any questions come summertime around projects not fully. We're continuing to do an economic impact analysis around Ready in general, utilizing the Purdue and IU Public Policy Institute. So there's a general look at the entire scope of the program and the dollars in and out, what's the economic impact of those. But we're also able to do some studies around specific projects. So we have some Placer AI type research we're able to do, track who's visiting, what kind of attractions. We're also putting together a hedonic modeling program where we're trying to make qualitative data quantitative, right? So we're taking investments into things like parks and trails that have a nebulous address and that have a, we know generally that we like to invest in the parks and trails and public amenities like that. Hard to identify a solid ROI on that sometimes. And so with the scale of what we're doing, the unprecedented scale that we have, the unprecedented amount of collaboration that we have, we're actually doing, industry leading study on how do we start to have a quantitative ROI on quality of life investment, so that going forward, people like the Arts Commission and other great partners that we have can make a case for why we should be investing, not just because we know it should stand alone on its own, that we know people like parks and we want people in our communities. But there is also a dollar return that we can make to when we're trying to ask for investment, right? They identified a multiplier on Ready specifically at about 1.85 on all of the match dollars around it. So for scale, we put out $500 million. We're expecting about $9.5 to $10 billion in return for Ready One. And you can put a multiplier of 1.85 on that, create, $20 billion just for the match. So we're talking about almost $30 billion that we've created in our state off of that $500 million investment. So those numbers are massive. The program has been fairly popular, unless you talk to the people who are working on getting us data in the individual projects, but it's a lot of work there. But we were granted another $500 million by the state legislature in 2024 to pursue Ready 2. Ready 2 is, I'd say 90% of the way similar to Ready 1. Major differences are we've been able to be a lot more intentional with what the metrics that we want to achieve. So we put together these key performance indicators. These are on our website if you want to see them, but around population growth, per capita income, educational attainment, childcare capacity, innovation activities. Everything that we do has to filter through one of these KPIs. And this is state dollars, so we have a sunset of 2028. But again, being able to, it's not a one-to-one on the dollars that we're making, so we have to be careful how we're combining these investments. But otherwise, almost identical to Ready 1. In Ready 2, the max award that we saw was $45 million, whereas in Ready 1 it was $50 million. That's not a reflection of anyone taking their foot off the gas. It's actually the opposite. What we saw was regions that were able to, like we said in regional cities, have multiple years of collaboration start to grow. I think a great example is East Central region. In Ready 1 was one of the lowest awarded regions. I think they would even tell you that their application was a bit of a mess. They grew between Ready 1 and Ready 2. The Ball Foundation stepped up in a big way. All the universities started participating in a way that they weren't before. And I think it's because they saw multiple investments coming from the IEDC and started to believe that this was real. And they started to understand the importance of collaborating regionally like this. Not only were they able to receive $35 million in Ready, they also received $90 million between 3 different universities in Lilly CCC grants. And I know they're continuing to work on other grants in that region as well. So I've seen a complete 180 from a region like that. Lots of other regions, again, stepped up to the plate. So our median was higher than in before, right? So we're continuing to analyze these projects. We've got about 80% of this funding obligated right now. Between our 2 programs, Ready 1 and Ready 2, we have about almost 800 projects altogether. In this round, we've got 219 pre-approved, and we're starting to disperse money out of Ready 2 as well. So we're almost at $22 million that we've dispersed out of this program. So my team has a tracker weekly where we look at Ready 1 disbursements and Ready 2 disbursements, and last week we put out almost $5 million between the 2 programs. So it's a lot of work, but we're continuing to do it. We're also able to do we're still utilizing Purdue and the Public Policy Institute, but we're in Ready 2, we're doing economic impact and key performance indicator analysis on every single project individually. So we'll be able to have an understanding of how these projects are going to affect their communities economically and affect our KPIs so that we can start to roll these up together. This is kind of a big thing, I know this is what's next for the Arts Commission and us. I have to say, Maya and her team have been super amazing to work with. They've been very available to all of our regions, very communicative. Everyone really appreciates the partnership that we're starting to formulate. We were able to pull together a fairly informal meeting of all the state agencies that do art stuff. I think that was the official title of that meeting. But yeah, cross sector or cross agency collaboration in a way that we haven't seen in the past, and we're really excited for kind of what comes next on this initiative. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have around Ready, and really excited to maybe be able to come back next year and talk about what we've done with this initiative.
Jim, I think that a slide or two that sort of talks about the goals of the arts and culture.
Yeah.
Bring that, maybe just say.
So, yeah, I guess real quick, we actually have two initiatives. We were funded $250 million by the Lilly Endowment to put on top of Ready 2. To build two new initiatives, one around blight remediation and redevelopment. This is well underway. This is very much in our wheelhouse for the IEDC. We're used to doing this kind of stuff. We have $185 million dedicated to this initiative. We made some awards earlier this year, and we're starting to ramp up capacity building, which is a major part of this, both in this piece and in the arts initiative as well. So really excited about where this is headed. And then we have $65 million dedicated to arts and culture specifically. So that's what we've been working with the Arts Commission on, starting to centralize with the regions. They have, you want me to talk about the plans?
Yeah.
So we have early communications with the regions. We had a look at some of the suggested projects that came in, and realized that we need to do some additional planning work specific to this sector. So, we've done 3 rounds already, right? People understood what the goals of economic development goals were generally, right? They understood that they were typically asset-based. But this was kind of out of left field enough for some of our partners that we needed to pull in, Arts Commission and other stakeholders. And we really challenged the regions to identify new stakeholders, beyond who you've been working with just for Ready, and pull them into this conversation so that we can understand the investments that are coming in, and everyone can feel like they're a part of this initiative, and B, so that we're building better plans going forward, right? We're starting to truly combine arts and culture and economic development, which I think was part of the goal of the endowment's funding. So by the end of this year, we're going to have 15 strategic plans, one from each region, in hand. They've spent the last 6 months working on these with a varying group of consultants that have helped them out. And I'm really, like I said, really excited about what can come next from this. I think a lot of our regions are really excited about the stakeholders that they've uncovered, and the potential partnerships that they have going forward. So I think this will help us get better projects when we come to the call for projects next year. And it'll help really the entire sector really understand how you engage with economic development and how you work regionally.
Additional funding.
On the web.
On the LEI, arts and cultural project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a number of, I have some examples of Ready projects that we funded. We had arts and culture as a specific priority in Ready 1. We funded initiatives like the Liberty Theater down in Lawrenceburg, the Wellfield Botanic Arts in Elkhart, Grand Party County Performing Arts Center. So a number of these projects understand the scale can be from something small like the Huntingbury Alley activation to something huge like the Silo Center in Kokomo, which is serves thousands of people. But we have generally $65 million dedicated towards this arts and culture funding. Majority of that's going to go towards project funding. We do have funding to dedicate also to capacity building, which is something we're gonna be building out with Maya and her team. We're asking for regional type impacts of projects. We're gonna be doing a call for projects at Q1. And starting to come to a decision around what the funding will be, likely Q2, April, May of next year, again, in conjunction with Maya and her team, and all the regional partners. So, like I said, we're a little bit ahead of this with the blight projects. We're able to use some of the framework that we put together for that program to apply to this, so we can start to understand timelines and contractual requirements and that kind of stuff. So, projects are going to be able to apply in directly through the Arts Commission's portal. As feedback we got from the regions is that Ready wasn't the most accessible program. You know, it was designed specifically to interact fairly formally with the regions, and you know, arts partners aren't used to operating within those parameters. So we're going to be building out a special entry point in the Arts Commission's grants tool. That'll allow the Arts Commission, endowment, us, any other partners, our regional partners as well, to have eyes into, you know, all of the projects that we're funding, but perhaps more importantly, the projects that we're not funding, right? What are the, you know, the projects that maybe aren't they don't have the capacity to accept funding yet, or they haven't acquired property, or, you know, for whatever reason, it's not going to come together in the next 2 to 3 years. What can we learn from those projects that can help Arts Commission understand how they can interact with them going forward, help them be more successful, give them feedback around how they could be successful to search additional funding opportunities, and, you know, hopefully guide the endowment and how they're investing in arts and culture going forward as well. Projects that are selected will then come into our grants management tool and be handled as ready projects. But yeah, all the regions will have eyes into that project selection process. And of course, Arts Commission and us working hand in hand.
You have a sense yet for how many projects designs units across the state, it's not regional.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's another thing that's a little bit different in the intake. This sector is just different enough, again, that we felt that it's important to have the entry point through the Arts Commission. And we're not limiting it to just regional submissions, right? So entities can apply on their own. We'll have a scoring matrix, we'll prioritize regional priorities. So within that scoring, we'll get extra points for, you know, thumbs up, thumbs down from the regional partners. But we want to make sure that we're sort of democratizing this and making it accessible.
I really appreciate your sensitivity to leaning into the Indiana Arts Commission's expertise in the funding and this model. I wasn't clear though, if you can articulate it, because it sounded like 250 million came from the Lilly endowment. What percentage or what dollar amount is coming from Ready to support the arts and cultural program?
Yeah, so the $250 million came from the endowment to build out this program. So regions are able to use Ready as a match on a specific project. But this is really kind of it's a build out in addition to, so it's $65 million total.
I might just add to that, in Northeast Indiana, we know that Ready capacity of regional cities before that has put significant hours.
Yeah, like I said, we're building case studies around existing investments. We've had Electric Works on here as one example in that region. That was a regional cities project. Nexus Park in Columbus, Tolson and Elkhart, and even Salway Schoolhouse in Central Indiana. So, like I was mentioning earlier, we've had large investments into arts and culture. We've had tiny investments into arts and culture, but it's been a priority. So we're really excited about the ability to lean in even harder and to, you know, $65 million when you're talking about a $1.25 billion program with, you know, $20 billion match and all this feels like a small number, but it's also, you know, one of the single largest investments into arts and culture in the history of the state. So we're trying to take that very seriously.
Other questions from Jim or Maya?
So the commissioners will have eyes into the 15 regional arts and culture plans that are being developed. So you'll have an opportunity to see those, see the last people. Then at some point, Jim and I are doing a gathering of all the regionals in mid-January to talk with them about how the arts and culture planning process has gone for them, what they've learned. And then we're also going to try, I think, to come to some sort of higher level understanding of sort of overall issues and opportunities in arts and culture in the state. And that's kind of our first time as a commission sort of doing that at this scale in this way. So it's a really exciting opportunity. So at some point, I'll be bringing back to the commission sort of what we're learning from the result of this planning process and what we as a commission should be thinking about as it relates to needs and opportunities. Again, for us, it's new territory, which is great.
Last thing, if you do have more questions around it already, I'm happy to answer, but if you go to indianaready.com, we actually have an interactive website with a map that pulls all of the approved projects on there, and you can research, you know, what are the regional plans, you know, what are the projects, what's the dollar amounts, all that stuff. We're also building out, and we'll do this with arts and culture as well, resources available for regions. We were able to launch our development toolkit in October, which is kind of a nuts and bolts of what you do to put together a project in the state of Indiana. Again, like I said, building case studies around the kind of unprecedented set of projects that we have right now. So again, I appreciate the time and appreciate all the work that everybody here did. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. We're especially excited to see the IDC and the Arts Commission working together on the initiative you described. Many of us certainly understand how important the arts is for quality of life, quality of economic development. And so to see some of those things really moving on in this initiative are very exciting. So if there's anything more we can do, certainly let us know. We did not have any consent items to move down, so that is handled. On old business and new business, I want to thank two commissioners who are not here, but in abstention, still thank them, and I want to chime in on this as well. But Lauren McRobbie served as our program committee chair for many years, and Penny Valentine served as chair and was a very engaged and active member of the commission. And both of them I know have, you know, some feelings about leading the commission, but really contribute during the time that they were on the commission ways. So Chad and I were talking earlier, we have email addresses for them that if you want to harass them, or you want to thank them for the service, go both ways. Says, really show some real excellent service. Why you want to add anything?
Phenomenal commission.
Yeah.
We appreciate their service. I think the budget were both with us for 8 years, went too fast. Yeah. Thank them for their service.
Absolutely. Next quarterly business meeting is in Evansville. Yeah. And Commissioner Wiley is going to tell us all of the exciting things he's going to provide.
Well, for those of you, we have not had a meeting of the commission in Evansville for over a decade. And we are so thrilled to be back, and it is a wonderful time to do it. Our ability to have presence in March to support the changes that are being made for our regional arts partnership, for all the work we're trying to do with the changes in the Arts Commission and the library's work in Evansville. That will be a really nice commitment we're showing to support those folks who will be coming on to end our work for a while. So thank you for that. Those of you not come for a long time, it's much easier to get there now. Interstate 69 is completely done. Totally and completely done. You can go from Fort Wayne to Evansville without stopping now. If you are dumped into the Ohio River, you've gone a little too far. But for the rest of it, you can get there. You know, I can get to and from downtown Evansville, from downtown Indianapolis now in 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's the most stunning thing. All of us in the southwestern part of the state, it used to take that long to get to Bloomington. It's really wonderful. So please come down and join us. I'm working with Rita Icahn, Karen Ellenbrook, and Susan Hardwick, our most immediate past commissioners from the commission who are still in the Evansville region or up here and will come home to work on things. We plan on doing much like we did in South Bend, having a reception at the Evansville Museum in the Icahn Pavilion, named for Mrs. Icahn, who was a former chair of this commission. And doing that with our regional grantees and other local dignitaries and members of legislature and other folks. The commission and our staff will then go to the Wrightstown Museum, where we'll be able to have a cocktail and have dinner. We'll be doing that there instead of a restaurant. And then we will be having our meeting at the Evansville Regional Economic Partnership Building, and that will be hosted by our local SPDC office, the SPDC of Southwestern Indiana, one of our great economic development partners in the area. They're going to be hosting that for us at their facility. Everything will be in downtown Evansville except our hotel, because we have some sports thing going. So it'll be just like this when we're out, but we are looking very forward to hosting you. You know, the reality is for David and I, when you live in one of the corners of the state, it's so rare you get the opportunity to host, because it is just a challenge. You know, so much of our things are here in Indianapolis. So our local folks are really super excited to get the opportunity to welcome all of you, and I hope you will all be able to join us.
Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
Boy, that was fantastic.
And Boston's all over. We've been working for quite some time to get everything arranged.
Well, it sounds, yeah. So be sure you have that inked into your calendar and I guess watch out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the bridge approach is almost done.
Yeah.
They just haven't built the bridge yet.
Well, we can see that coming down as well. A few items I want to mention before we to maturity. Andrea sent out Myers evaluation, so if you haven't gotten her evaluation in and you want to, still time?
Still time.
Okay, still time. Jake mentioned to me, any of you who have interest in seeing the zoo after this meeting, you're very welcome to.
We're not open until 2, so like all the animals won't be out yet. Some of them aren't out when it's this weather anyway, but you're welcome to explore. I think the tigers will be out, obviously everything in the oceans building or the dolphins or the walrus will be out, so. You have a place for yourselves, not everything's fully open, but you're welcome to explore.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Dr. Shoemaker and Sue, for allowing us to have the here this great location. We want to thank the folks who are on Zoom, and hopefully the connection worked well with you as we went through the meeting. So really appreciate that. And lastly, I want to thank our newest commissioners who both came and engaged, and we're really looking forward to having all of you part of commission's activities in the upcoming years. If you have thoughts on how we can do things better, including, Maya taking the agenda away from that. I mean, anything is possible. Anything is possible. So seriously, though, if we have organizations that involved, we appreciate that. All of you, you guys are always great. We look at our meetings. Anything you want to say?
2 things. It's been an interesting year, a lot of challenges, a lot of opportunities. We did some big things this year. We absorbed a 33% cut without missing beats in our operations. How that impacts a lot of folks around the state, we went into the work with intentionality and got through it. And we did something that we thought and said, or that was common wisdom for years and years, that we could never offer our Arts Project Support Program twice. No way, no way. We could land a rocket on the moon easier than we could offer our Arts Project Support twice, and we did it. We transitioned to asynchronous reviewers. We've done a lot of big things this year that because we're so busy, we don't always take. So we couldn't have done any of it. Got a phenomenal staff, all of them were here, and I thank them each and every day. And a great group of commissioners. So, and then a lot of friends and partners at Regional Arts. So all the great folks. It's been quite a year, and here we are. We got the road. So thank you for everybody, to everyone for all your work to get us here, and happy holidays. We'll see you.
Thank you, Maya. It has been a great year. I just want to, Maya's been very nice to thank the commissioners, but I want to thank T. Maya and the team have done amazing work throughout the year. In as challenging a year as, I mean, any year I could mention all the challenges, and to move all of that forward, keep things moving in just a very exciting way. It's fantastic. So we know you guys work hours and hours and hours to make these things happen, but it is much appreciated. So any other business to come forward? Okay, now I'm gonna abandon the roll call. Sorry. Austin's given me permission to adjourn the meeting with a motion and a second. So if we can get a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Okay, great. A second.
Second.
Adjourn. Sorry, Austin.
No.
Thank you all.
Happy holidays, everyone.